What happens when you and your identical twin brother are both chosen to become the next chief of your Choctaw tribe, but the elders say only one can live, and the spirits will decide which one by throwing you both into the flooding Mississippi River to see who survives. I was 16 winters old in 1829, standing on the riverbank beside my brother Bright Moon, watching the dark water rage past us after 3 days of storms. We had been inseparable since birth, sharing everything, loving each other more than life itself. The entire tribe gathered to watch as the medicine man tied our wrists together with a sacred cord and said, "The spirits will choose, one will live to lead, one will die to honor the choice." But what nobody knew, not the elders, not my brother, not even our mother who wept on the shore, was that I had discovered the terrible truth about this sacred tradition 2 weeks earlier. And in the 30 seconds before we were thrown into that violent water, I had to make the most horrific choice of my life. Let my brother die as the tradition demanded, or save him and destroy everything our people believed. Before I tell you what I did in those rushing water, less than 5% of you will have the courage to watch this entire story without stopping. If you've ever had to choose between someone you love and what everyone says is right, if you understand that sometimes traditions are just cruelty disguised as destiny, keep watching, because what happened in that river and what I discovered about the Spirit's choice will make you question every tradition that asks for blood in exchange for answers. My name is Silent Water, though that wasn't always my name. I was born running deer in the year the white man calls 1813, in a Choctaw village along the great Mississippi River, where the water ran wide and powerful, and our people had lived for more generations than anyone could count. My twin brother was born moments after me, and they named him Bright Moon because the full moon broke through clouds the moment he entered the world. From our first breath we were inseparable. In Choctaw culture, twins are special. We're believed to share one soul split between two bodies. We're stronger together, blessed by the spirits, marked for greatness. But we're also dangerous because a soul split in two can tear the fabric between the spirit world and our world if both halves try to exist in positions of power. That's why the tradition exists, the twin choice. When identical twins are born to a chief's family and both survive to their 16th year, which is rare, because one twin usually dies young from sickness or accident, the tribe must choose which twin will become the next chief. But the choice isn't made by elders or parents, or the twins themselves. The choice is made by the spirits, through the ancient trial of the river. My father was Chief Red Hawk, a strong leader respected by all. My mother was Singing Bird, a medicine woman who knew every plant, every healing ceremony, every secret the earth kept. They had 3 daughters before us, but no sons. So when Bright Moon and I were born, identical twin boys, healthy and strong, the entire tribe celebrated. The chief finally had heirs, but they also worried, because they knew what would come when we turned 16. Bright Moon and I grew up knowing we were special. People watched us constantly, looking for signs of which brother the spirits favored. Were we equally strong, equally smart, equally brave? Or did one of us show leadership, while the other showed weakness? But here's the thing. We were truly identical, not just in appearance, but in ability. If I could run fast, so could Bright Moon. If he could shoot an arrow straight, so could I. If I learned a skill quickly, he learned it just as quickly. We were perfectly matched in every way, like 2 sides of the same coin. We loved each other completely. We never competed, never compared, never wished the other was less so we could be more. When one of us succeeded, we both celebrated. When one of us failed, we both learned. We weren't rivals. We were 2 halves of one whole, exactly as our people said we should be. That made us wonderful brothers. But it made the tribe's future decision impossible. As we approached our 16th year, the elders began to discuss our fate. I overheard them talking many times, always the same concerns. How can we choose when they're exactly equal? How will the spirits decide when both boys are worthy? What if the river takes them both? What if it takes neither? Our father tried to delay the tradition. They're both strong, he argued in council. Both smart, both good leaders. Why can't we change the law? Why can't they rule together, sharing power as they share everything else? The head elder, an ancient man named Grey Wolf, shook his head firmly. The law exists for a reason. One soul cannot serve in two bodies of power. It creates imbalance. The spirits will tear our world apart if both twins live to lead. One must die so the other can be whole. This is how it has always been. This is how it must be. But they're my sons, our father said, his voice breaking. Both of them. How can I watch one die? Because you are chief first and father second, Grey Wolf said coldly. Your duty to the tribe outweighs your love for your children. The twin choice will happen on their 16th birthday. The spirits will decide, and you will accept their decision. Guys, I need you to stop and feel this. Imagine knowing that on your 16th birthday, you and your twin, your best friend, your other half, will be thrown into a violent river, and only one of you is supposed to survive. Imagine everyone you know accepting this as normal, as necessary, as sacred. Comment below if you've ever been part of a tradition or system that demanded sacrifice, that asked you to accept cruelty as wisdom. Have you ever questioned what everyone else calls sacred? This moment, when I began to doubt our tradition, is when my real story begins. 3 weeks before our 16th birthday, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the twin choice, about the river, about losing Bright Moon, or him losing me. So I went to speak with Grey Wolf privately, hoping the old medicine man could ease my fears. I found him in his lodge, smoking his pipe, surrounded by sacred objects and scrolls that held our people's history. Elder, I said respectfully, I come seeking wisdom about the twin choice. He studied me with eyes that had seen 70 winters. You fear the river. I fear losing my brother. I admitted. We are one soul. How can one half live without the other? That is exactly why one must die, Grey Wolf said. A soul divided cannot lead. The twin choice makes the survivor whole by returning the other half of the soul through death. You will feel more complete after your brother dies, not less. His words felt wrong, but I didn't know how to argue with someone who spoke for tradition and spirits. Has the twin choice happened before, in our tribe's history? 3 times, Grey Wolf said. The sacred scrolls record each occurrence. Can I see them? I asked. I want to understand what happened, how the spirits chose. Grey Wolf hesitated, then nodded. You have the right to know the tradition you will face. He pulled out 3 ancient scrolls, each one yellowed with age, each one telling the story of twins who faced the river. I read them carefully by firelight, and with each scroll my blood grew colder. The first story, from 8 generations ago, twin brothers, thrown into the flooding river, tied together. One survived, one drowned. The survivor became chief, and led for 40 years. But the details were strange. The surviving twin had been larger and stronger, even before the trial, not truly identical. The spirits hadn't chosen anything. The stronger brother simply overpowered the weaker one. The second story, from 5 generations ago, twin sisters thrown into the river. One survived, one drowned. But this scroll included a detail that made my stomach turn. The surviving sister was found floating downstream hours later, her twin's body nowhere to be found. She claimed the spirits took her sister directly to the spirit world. But the next paragraph mentioned that the surviving sister had deep scratch marks on her arms and face, wounds that she could not explain. The third story, from 3 generations ago. Twin brothers thrown into the river. Both drowned. The tribe, left without an heir, nearly collapsed into civil war before a new leader emerged through violence. 20 people died in the fighting that followed. The sacred scroll called it a tragedy when the spirits could not choose. I looked up at Grey Wolf, horror dawning. These aren't choices by the spirits. These are murders. The stronger twin kills the weaker one, or they both die, and we call it sacred to avoid calling it what it really is, forced fratricide. Grey Wolf's expression didn't change. The spirits work through strength. The one who survives is the one the spirits favor. That is the choice. That's not a choice. My voice rose despite my respect for his age. That's making brothers kill each other and pretending it's destiny. What if neither twin wants to kill the other? What if we both fight to save each other instead of fighting to survive? Then you both die, Grey Wolf said simply. And the tribe suffers for your selfishness. Your duty is to fight, to let the strongest survive. That is leadership, the willingness to take power even if it costs you everything you love. I left his lodge feeling sick. The twin choice wasn't about spirits deciding anything. It was about forcing twins into a death match in drowning conditions, and then interpreting whichever outcome occurred as divine will. If one killed the other, the spirits had chosen. If both died, the spirits had rejected them both. The tradition was designed so it could never be wrong, no matter what horror unfolded. I had 2 weeks to decide what to do. I considered telling Bright Moon, but what could I say? Our sacred tradition is actually just ritualized murder, and we should refuse? He would agree with me. We thought the same way about everything. But refusing meant dishonoring our father, splitting the tribe, destroying our family. The consequences of rebellion seemed almost as terrible as the trial itself. I considered running away, but where would we go? We were Choctaw. Our entire identity was tied to this tribe, this place, these people. And if I ran, I would still be leaving Bright Moon to face the trial alone, or forcing him to run with me, making us both outcasts forever. I considered talking to our father, but he had already tried to change the tradition and failed. He was bound by his role as chief to enforce laws he personally hated. He couldn't help us. For 2 weeks I wrestled with the impossible choice, and every option seemed to lead to tragedy. Then came our 16th birthday, the day of the twin choice. The entire tribe gathered at the riverbank. The Mississippi was swollen from recent storms, running fast and dark and deadly. The water churned with debris, broken trees, mud, dangerous currents that could drag a grown man under in seconds. This wasn't a swimming challenge. This was a drowning trap. Bright Moon and I stood together, wearing only loincloths, no weapons, no tools. We would be tied together at the wrists and thrown into the water from a high bank. The theory was that the sacred cord would force us to work together or against each other, and the spirits would guide the outcome. But the reality was that the cord would make it almost impossible for both of us to survive. If one panicked, he would drag the other down. If one tried to save the other, they would both drown. The only way for one to survive was to fight free of the other while the current separated them. It was designed to create the worst possible choice. Save yourself by abandoning your twin, or die trying to save them both. Our mother was weeping openly. Our father stood with the elders, his face a mask of controlled agony. Our sisters held each other, crying. Everyone we knew and loved was watching, waiting to see which of us the spirits would choose. Grey Wolf approached with the sacred cord, made from buffalo sinew, blessed in ceremonies, supposedly imbued with spiritual power. He began tying our wrists together, chanting prayers in the old language. Bright Moon looked at me, and I saw the same fear in his eyes that I felt. But I also saw something else. Trust. Complete, absolute trust that whatever happened, we would face it together. Brother, he whispered so only I could hear, I don't want to live without you. Neither do I whispered back. Then we won't, he said. If the spirits want one of us dead, they'll have to take us both. I won't fight you. I won't let you go. We came into this world together. We'll leave it together if that's what happens. His words broke my heart and strengthened my resolve at the same time. We were thinking the same thing, as always. We would rather both die than let tradition force us to murder each other. Grey Wolf finished tying our wrists. The cord was tight, unbreakable. The spirits will choose, he intoned loudly for the crowd to hear. One will lead, one will join the ancestors. This is the sacred way. 4 strong warriors grabbed us, 2 holding me, 2 holding Bright Moon. They walked us to the edge of the high bank where the water churned below. Our father spoke, his voice shaking despite his attempt at formality. My sons, you carry our blood and our future. May the spirits guide you. May the worthy one survive. May the tribe be blessed by this sacrifice. He couldn't even look at us. I saw tears on his cheeks that he couldn't hide. The warriors lifted us. Bright Moon's hand tightened around mine through the sacred cord, and then they threw us into the river. The cold water hit like a physical blow. The current grabbed us immediately, spinning us, dragging us under. I tried to surface, but the cord pulled my arm down. Bright Moon was tangled in debris below me. I dove down, found him, pulled him up. We broke the surface together, gasping. "Swim," I shouted. Together, toward the shore. We tried, but the current was too strong. It pulled us downstream, away from our tribe, away from the landing spots where survivors were supposed to emerge. We were being swept into the truly dangerous part of the river, where the current created whirlpools, and the deep channel could hold you under until your lungs gave out. A broken tree branch slammed into us, nearly knocking us unconscious. Bright Moon took the worst of it, his head bleeding where the wood struck him. He went limp for a moment, and his weight pulled us both under. I fought to the surface, dragging him, screaming his name. "Bright Moon, brother, stay with me." His eyes open, unfocused. "I'm sorry," he gasped. "I'm too hurt. I'm going to drown us both. Let me go." "No." I pulled him closer, trying to keep both our heads above water. But he was right. He was dead weight now, barely conscious, and the current was dragging us into deeper water. I could feel myself weakening. My muscles were screaming, my lungs burning. I had maybe 30 seconds before I went under for good. And in that moment, I understood the twin choice completely. This was the decision the tradition forced on survivors. Either let your twin go and save yourself, or hold on and die together. There was no third option, no way to save both. The river didn't allow it. The entire system was designed to make you choose yourself over the person you loved most. Bright Moon looked at me with clarity returning to his eyes. "Let go," he said. "I'm already dying. Don't die with me. Live, lead, make something good out of this." "I can't," I sobbed, choking on water. "I can't let you go." "You have to," he said. And then, with the last of his strength, he did something that shattered me. He untied the sacred cord with his teeth. His wrists were bleeding from the effort, but he got it loose. He freed us from each other. "I love you, brother," he said. "Tell them the spirits chose well." And he let go. He stopped fighting. He slipped under the water and didn't come back up. I screamed his name. I dove after him, but the current had him, dragging him into the deep channel where the whirlpools spun. I dove again and again, searching, calling his name underwater, but he was gone. The river had taken him, and I was alone. The current swept me downstream for another quarter mile before depositing me on a sandbar where I could finally drag myself to shore. I collapsed on the mud, vomiting water, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. I had let my brother die, not actively. I hadn't pushed him under or fought free of him like previous twins had done. But I had been too weak to save him. I had survived while he drowned, and everyone would call it the spirit's choice. But it wasn't. It was just a terrible, cruel tradition that created impossible situations and then claimed that whatever horror resulted was divinely ordained. Warriors found me on that sandbar an hour later. They were searching downstream for survivors or bodies. When they saw me alive and alone, they knew what it meant. "The spirits have chosen," one of them said reverently. "You will be our next chief." I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell them there were no spirits guiding anything. Just a violent river and two brothers who loved each other, and a tradition that demanded one die for no reason except that we were born on the same day. But I was too exhausted, too broken, too destroyed. They carried me back to the village. The tribe gathered again, and Grey Wolf stood before everyone to announce the spirit's decision. Running Deer has survived the twin choice. He is now the chosen heir, blessed by the spirits, made whole by the sacrifice of his twin. From this day forward he will be known as Silent Water, for he carries the quiet strength of the river that tested him. Silent Water. A new name to mark the death of everything I used to be. They searched for Bright Moon's body for 3 days but never found it. The river had taken him completely. My mother wept until she had no tears left. My father retreated into silence, his grief too large for words. My sisters blamed me, even though they knew I hadn't wanted this, because I was alive and their favorite brother was dead. I became chief when my father died 2 years later. I led our people for 43 years. And every single decision I made with the memory of Bright Moon guiding me. I led the way he would have led. I was kind because he was kind. I was wise because he was wise. I carried both halves of our soul because that's all I could do to honor him. But I also changed the tradition. 10 years into my leadership, I convinced the council to abolish the twin choice. I told them the spirits had spoken to me in a vision, saying that the old way was no longer needed. Some elders protested, but I had earned enough respect by then that my word carried weight. If twins are born to a chief's family again, I declared, they will both live. They will rule together as co-chiefs, sharing power as twins share a soul. The spirits do not demand blood, they demand wisdom. And it is not wisdom to murder children and call it sacred. Grey Wolf, ancient and bitter, opposed me until his death. But younger leaders agreed. The tradition ended with me. No more twins would face the river. No more brothers would be forced to choose between each other and tradition. Guys, I'm 59 winters old now as I tell you this story. Bright Moon died 43 years ago, and I still see his face every time I close my eyes. I still hear his last words, "I love you, brother." Tell them the spirits chose well, but the spirits didn't choose anything. The river killed him. The tradition killed him. The belief that some things are too sacred to question killed him. And I survived not because I was stronger or worthier or more blessed, but because he chose to die so I wouldn't have to. That's not divine will. That's just tragedy. We dress up in spiritual language to avoid admitting we created the horror ourselves. Here's what I learned. Some traditions aren't sacred. They're just old. Some customs aren't wise. They're just cruel practices that have been repeated so many times we forget to ask if they should continue. And some deaths aren't meaningful sacrifices. They're just murders we're too cowardly to call murders. If this story moved you, share it. Share it. If you've ever questioned a tradition everyone else accepts, share it. If you've lost someone to a system that demanded their death and called it necessary, share it. If you believe that no tradition is more sacred than human life, that no custom is more important than love. And remember, just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean it should keep being done that way. Just because elders call something sacred doesn't mean it's right. Just because everyone accepts something as normal doesn't mean it's not horrific. That is my story. That is how I watched my twin brother drown while a tribe called it the spirit's choice. And I spent the rest of my life making sure no other brothers would face that river, no other twins would be forced into that impossible choice. To Bright Moon, my brother, my other half, the person I loved most in this world, you saved my life by giving up yours. I've tried to live in a way that honors that sacrifice. I've tried to be the leader you would have been. I hope wherever your spirit rests, you know that I changed the tradition that killed you. No more twins will die because of me. The river took you, but it didn't take your memory. And it didn't take the love that made you choose my life over yours. I carry you with me still, brother. Always. Comment below. Have you ever questioned a tradition that everyone else accepts? Have you ever lost someone to a system that called their death necessary? Have you ever changed something harmful because you had the courage to say this is wrong? Your story matters. Share it. But remember, sacred doesn't always mean right. Ancient doesn't always mean wise. And tradition should serve the living, not demand their deaths.